The lines are being redrawn. A local political expert weighs in on what could happen next with redistricting in Ohio. And the House passes a bill that would allow teachers to carry guns. Educators and firearms advocates debate the issue. And we break down how much money from the infrastructure bill is coming to Ohio and how it could help expand Amtrak in the Buckeye State. Thank you so much for joining us for Face the State. I'm Tracy Townsend. After several versions were drawn up, the Ohio House and Senate passed a new redistricting map. Here's a look at what the old congressional map looks like. The red is Republican, the blue Democrat, and those pink areas are areas considered competitive, but they mostly lean Republican. Here is the map the Republicans approved by a vote of 55 to 36. It gives them a 13-2 advantage. Experts say when districts overwhelmingly favor one party over the other, it leaves voters with a limited choice of candidates.
This map clearly unduly favors Republicans and disfavors Democrats.
As a lifelong resident, I think these are great maps. We've heard how well they were drawn, and I think they will withstand the court muster.
The map has to be finalized by November 30th. Democrats are pushing Governor Mike DeWine to vote for it. OSU political science professor Paul Beck doesn't expect that to happen.
I expect him not to veto it, to actually sign it into law. I think he's under enormous pressure from people within his party who want to make sure they're able to preserve the kind of majorities that they've enjoyed, super majorities that they've enjoyed in Congress as well as in the state House and the state Senate.
Because the vote is not bipartisan, the map will need to be revisited again in 4 years. We'll certainly let you know what happens. Two gun-related bills also passed the Ohio House this week. One allows teachers to carry a loaded gun into the classroom. The other gets rid of permits in order to be a concealed carrier. 10 TV's Olivia Eugenio breaks down the controversy behind these bills.
House Bill 99 and House Bill 227, both dealing with gun control, both polarizing, and both passing the House Wednesday. Let's start with House Bill 227. This would allow anyone over the age of 21 who is legally able to carry a gun to carry a concealed firearm, no strings attached. Currently, anyone looking to carry needs 8 hours of training and must pass a background check.
There are a lot of people who just simply don't want to go through all of the paperwork and bureaucracy associated with being able to carry a firearm.
If you have no training in the use of firearms, there's no way to believe that you know how to handle a firearm. And firearms are deadly instruments. And if you've had no training in the use of firearms, even if your intentions are good to stop a robbery or something, you won't be able to shoot effectively.
The other bill, House Bill 99, would set a minimum of 20 hours of training needed for school employees to conceal carry. The bill sponsor Wednesday saying this bill does not set a maximum hours of training, so school districts could add more. Keep in mind, the Ohio Supreme Court decided earlier this year armed school workers would need hundreds of hours of training. The Fraternal Order of Police testified against this bill, saying more training was needed. The Ohio Federation of Teachers also testified against the bill.
For us, we're looking at some psychological testing to make sure a person is psychologically fit to carry a weapon, some de-escalation skills, and just some really intense training on how to handle these type of situations.
The need to have people in schools who can protect our kids is different in every school district, but it's definitely in the outlying areas something that really is a big concern.
This bill would also require school employees to get an additional 2 hours of general training and 2 hours of handgun training each year. Olivia Eugenio, 10 TV News.
Both bills now go to the Ohio Senate for consideration. A spokesperson for Governor DeWine says it's premature to comment on these bills because it's unclear what the final language is going to be, but he does say the governor supports Second Amendment rights. This week, President Biden signed the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill into law. How much money will Ohio get as part of this bill? It's hard to say right now, but White House estimates suggest Ohio could receive more than $9 billion for highways, nearly $500 million for repair and to replace bridges over a 5-year period. There could also be $100 million for broadband, $250 million for airports, and more than $1 billion each for public transportation and water and infrastructure. We did ask Lieutenant Governor John Husted about the bill and what it means for the state. He emphasized those figures we just went over are not yet set in stone.
Well, there's no doubt that we have infrastructure needs. Ohio has been investing in our infrastructure. We've already made investments in our roads and bridges and broadband and other things. To have an additional federal investment at that will help us do more of those projects. But we're going to wait and see what the details are, because I have a lot of people coming to me right now, well, we can do this project or we can do that project. We don't know that yet, because we have to see what the rules are regarding how we spend the money.
Senator Rob Portman applauded the signing, calling it historic.
It's a big day for infrastructure, and therefore a good day for my constituents in Ohio and people all around the country. People who are stuck in a traffic jam, or maybe people who are worried about the bridge they're going over, whether it's safe or not, which is the case of a big bridge in my community.
That big bridge he's talking about is the Brent Spence Bridge between Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. It's notoriously congested and in need of an overhaul. Part of the infrastructure bill, more than $60 billion, will be invested into Amtrak. That will include Ohio. 10 TV's Olivia Eugenio shows us what this means for the future of rail in the Buckeye State.
The president, known for his love of trains, just signed a massive investment.
When it comes to passenger rail, this is transformational. There's never been this kind of an investment in passenger rail, probably since the New Deal era under Franklin Roosevelt.
$66.6 billion will go to Amtrak to help with their expansion. The Amtrak board chair saying, with the signing of this bill today by President Biden, the second great passenger rail revolution is here, and Amtrak and its state and federal partners are ready to lead the way. Part of the expansion will be to extend the 3C and D corridor, which goes through Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati. Columbus hasn't seen passenger rail since 1979. The 3C corridor hasn't been used for passenger rail since the early 1970s. Stu Nicholson is from All Aboard Ohio, an advocacy group for transportation.
There has never been that kind of investment in passenger rail in this country, not since the creation of Amtrak.
Nicholson predicts Central Ohio could see the Amtrak route in 3 to 4 years. He expects their first step will be doing studies to look at what needs to be fixed for the train to roll.
For instance, what bridges might need to be strengthened, what bridges for railroads might need to be replaced or widened. Where is the corridor going to need more than just a single track?
Nicholson looks forward to passenger rails returning to Central Ohio, something he says many haven't seen in their lifetime. Olivia Eugenio, 10 TV News.
Amtrak leaders say their plan will create more than 500,000 jobs, as well as add $150 billion to local communities by the year 2035. A historic vote in the U.S. Congress this week. Members of Congress censured a Republican representative over a violent video he posted online. 2 Republicans joined House Democrats in voting to condemn Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar and strip his committee assignments after he tweeted an animated video of himself attacking President Joe Biden and appearing to kill Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Ohio Representatives Troy Balderson and Mike Carey voted against his censure. We are seeing another wave of COVID-19 cases in Ohio. The health department says it appears the Delta variant is ramping up again.
The Delta variant appears to have gotten a second wind. Hospitalizations have significantly increased, and right now, 1 in 7 patients in our hospitals has COVID-19. More people are getting sick, and more are being hospitalized.
This week was National Apprenticeship Week. Our state has its own celebration too, and according to the Lieutenant Governor's office, Ohio ranks 3rd in the nation for apprentices and 1st in the Midwest. Clay Gordon explains how this push to fill those skilled positions is a low or no cost option for people who want to change careers.
Look who's operating the machine today.
This is Chelsea Mosby's new office.
It's like being in a video game. My feet don't touch the ground.
The pandemic had a lot to do with it.
The Columbus mother of an 11-month-old son decided she wanted a change of scenery.
It's definitely rewarding because you're outside, but if you're trying to lose that baby weight, I mean, I lost mine about a month or so.
Mosby was in customer service. Now she's in a local laborers union.
You're working and studying at the same time.
Correct, yeah. So working, I get paid as I'm working a little bit, and then also you're getting an education at the same time.
Vince Irvin is the statewide apprenticeship coordinator.
Digging down this soil, they'll prepare it for a concrete pour.
The Drexel J. Thrash Training Center in Howard, Ohio provides hands-on and classroom teaching for thousands of apprentices and nearly 24 unions.
We provide all the classroom instruction on behalf of the industry. There is no additional cost for that apprentice member.
It includes fuel, food, and in some instances, room and board. But the job field in Ohio spans more than just construction.
But it's also manufacturing, healthcare, tech.
This week, the state is pushing to fill those jobs.
So if you're looking at why now, the opportunities are available now. Employers need people now. And I can't emphasize enough, it costs you nothing.
It can be very intimidating at first, especially if you're new to it altogether. But I would say from my personal experience, everybody I've worked with, they've been very instrumental in helping me. Everything I learned on the job.
For Consumer 10, I'm Clay Gordon.
Right now, there are more than 1,300 apprenticeship opportunities in the state. To find a position near you, OhioMeansJobs.com. A new bill introduced in the Ohio House this week is aimed at helping new parents. State Rep. Allison Russo wants to create the Ohio Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program. That program would make sure Ohio workers had 12 weeks of family and medical leave benefits that could be used to care for a sick loved one, to take time off after a birth or adoption, or if a family experiences a stillbirth or death of a child. The bill has been referred to the House Families, Aging, and Human Services Committee. The Columbus mayor proposed the largest budget in city history. After the break, we'll take a look at how he plans to make the city safer through money and what the new director of public safety has to say about the current state of crime in the city. The largest budget in Columbus's history is going big on public safety. Mayor Andrew Ginther laid out the numbers this week. The mayor's budget proposal is more than $1 billion. $660 million is designated to public safety, and that includes a strong push to recruit police officers and firefighters. $2 million will go to Hilltop Early Learning Center, and $10 million is being set aside for clean energy programs.
The top three priorities are neighborhoods, neighborhoods, neighborhoods. It's about equity. It's about opportunity. It's about upward mobility, growing the winner's circle of success.
Someone who plays a big role in this plan is Robert Clark, the new director of public safety for the city of Columbus. He believes his unique background can bring an end to the city's violence, and he explained why to 10 TV's Angela Ann.
From the day the city announced Robert Clark as the new director of public safety, he has not stopped.
They say the first few months on a job is the honeymoon period. This is no honeymoon.
I'm not exactly sure when the honeymoon started or ended.
You don't even have it.
No, it was a race day one.
In his first 2.5 months, the city broke a homicide record. The feds arrested 2 Columbus police officers accused of drug crimes. And the city laid to rest 2 firefighters and a police officer who died from COVID complications.
I don't take the responsibilities lightly, and even the burdens I don't take lightly. So every time I get a report of a shooting, a homicide, or things happening around the city, I know that that impacts.
It keeps you up at night.
It does.
Here's why it keeps him up at night.
You lived what you're talking about.
I absolutely did. Growing up on the south side of Youngstown, spending several years in foster care, being the son of a murdered father, January 15, 1980 at 9:15 p.m. is a day I'll never forget. And I closed the door on my childhood that night at 13 years old, but I didn't understand like what my life would be.
His life has become what he calls a crusade of pursuing justice for others that have fallen silent. First, as a street cop in Youngstown, working special investigations and vice. Clark then moved on to the FBI and spent 2 decades taking down notorious gangs in Los Angeles. He turned alleyways of filth and graffiti into passages of hope. For Clark, it always came back to his why.
I see myself as one of them. I used to be one of them. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in foster care.
That was in 2013 in LA. This was last week in Columbus.
I am the son of a murdered father, so I know what it feels like every time we have a shooting, every time we have a homicide.
Clark's why will never change. And he says to fix the city's ever-growing violence, it's time to find new ways to do old things.
There are some critics and people in the community who have said, I've heard this, and they say it hasn't worked before. What's going to make it work now?
Well, here's what I suggest. There's a stack of applications in civil service, and we're certainly encouraging those who want to be a part of the solutions to come and join the team. We're making room on the team. And I would encourage them to be a part of the process. We need community engagement.
He believes a unified approach must include shifting how policing looks in the future, but also shifting the public's trust back to those who took an oath to protect and serve.
I had a conversation just this week about a young man who said that we don't want to talk to the police and we don't want the police to talk to us. And I asked him to just change a couple words. We don't want to talk to you. We want to speak with you. And that's a very different methodology. It's a very different mindset. This is not me speaking to you. This is about us creating a bilateral process of communication, and I am forward-leaning when it comes to that.
Director Clark says his return to Ohio brings him full circle to his why, turning a troubled childhood into a public service guided by faith.
And not many people can say they have God's thumbprint in their office. I saw that.
You noticed that, did you?
I sure did.
Yeah, that was actually a gift, and as you can see, it's one of the only things that I've brought to my office because I believe that God has his thumbprints on my life.
And also an opportunity to serve a city that needs a savior.
Director Clark knows solving Columbus's crime problem will not happen overnight, and he says there isn't just one answer. But the director says he's also here for the long haul because serving and protecting are what he calls his true north. For Crime Tracker 10, I'm Angela Ann, 10 TV News.
If you'd like to watch Angela's entire sit-down interview with Director Clark, head over to 10tv.com. Well, college football is certainly heating up, and so is the NFL. Many of you are probably waiting right now for an afternoon of games and to see how your fantasy team might fare today. Well, others may have money on the line. Here in Ohio, sports betting is an issue that remains tied up in debate and remains in a conference committee at the State House. Sports gambling would be supervised by the Casino Control Commission. While lawmakers hash out the particulars, nonprofit organizations like the Problem Gambling Network of Ohio are moving in to make sure potential players know the risks.
Every state but Kentucky currently that surrounds Ohio has legalized sports betting. So we're able to talk to our friends in Michigan and talk to our friends in Indiana and Pennsylvania and just to say, what are you going through? What are some tips that you would suggest for us? And that's information that we're bringing to the state legislature as they look at these issues.
Mm-hmm. Do you have support from any state lawmakers for this effort to help people?
Yeah, we've engaged with the members of both the House and the Senate related to sports betting and other gambling issues. E-bingo is something that came up towards the end of last year, and we continue to work with them and provide the information. Many times they're hearing from folks that are saying, hey, we want to have gambling in Ohio when we want to profit from gambling. Not often enough are they hearing from voices like ours to say, hey, we're not opposed to expanded gambling. We just want to make sure that the appropriate guardrails are in place.
Mm-hmm. Can you, for the purposes of our viewers who have heard the other side, can you give some examples of the problems that can result from, I'm just going to say it this way, gambling, sports gambling gone wrong?
Sure, absolutely. Well, as we look at the data from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, we know that 1 in 4 Ohioans who currently sports betting not currently legal in Ohio, 1 in 4 are at risk for developing a gambling problem. So that's a huge population. And with that, we want to make sure that we really understand what that can look like. You can take a 9-question quiz at beforeyoubet.org and really assess what your gambling looks like. And based on the results of those 9 questions, that can help provide some additional resources, whether that be just things to think about, or maybe if you're kind of on the other end of getting some gambling support services.
Coming up in today's Note of Promise, we will highlight some very special women in Central Ohio for their efforts in their community to help those around them. Ahead of the winter season, we want to remind our viewers of some of the government resources that are out there, specifically those that can help people pay their bills. This week, we're highlighting some ways that you can keep your home warm this winter through a program called the Winter Crisis Program. Experts say the first step, checking on your home's insulation.
But I also encourage people to contact your local providers. So whether that's AEP or another provider, or even if you have bulk storage or an oil tank that does your heating, we can help you fill that oil tank to help heat your home as well. So I recommend people contact us, energyhelp.ohio.gov, and then reach out to your local energy provider. There's a number of programs, and we want to make sure that your house is warm this winter.
Whether you own or rent your home, you can get help. Eligibility is based on your income and how many people are in your household. For example, to qualify for a family of 4, you'll need to prove a yearly income of about $46,000. There's more information on how to apply for this assistance at 10tv.com/featured links. In this morning's Note of Promise, we are celebrating 6 extraordinary women for their leadership, vision, professional excellence, and their selfless work to uplift the community. They're being recognized as YWCA Women of Achievement, women who go the extra mile to help make life better for the community and those around them.
What is a woman of achievement?
Oh, you know, a woman of achievement is an individual who is, of course, inspiring and, has a great professional resume, if you will, right? But it also is a woman who uplifts her community.
And YWCA of Columbus CEO Christy Angel says the 6 women announced as 2022 Women of Achievement exemplify that definition.
I'm pleased to announce Joy Bivens, Deputy County Administrator for Health and Human Services for Franklin County, Laura Espibel, Emergency Medicine Physician and Associate Medical Director for Mid-Ohio Emergency Services and Medical Director of Community Partnerships for Ohio Health. Linda Hondros, owner and co-founder of the Hondros family of companies. Angie Plummer, Executive Director of Community, Refugee, and Immigration Services. Janika Pierce Tucker, Partner in charge of Taft, Satanis, and Hollister Legal Profession. And Joanna Pinkerton, President and CEO of the Central Ohio Transit Authority. These women represent the essence of who we have had to be and what we have had to fight for these last nearly 2 years.
And we say congratulations to the YWCA's 2022 Women of Achievement. You can look to hear from each of them in April during the Women of Achievement celebration. And of course, right now you can read more about them at 10tv.com. In the meantime, we say thank you so much for joining us here today. Remember, if it affects you, your family in Ohio, we're here to make sure those accountable face the state.